Has it really been 4 years since the last Stormlight Archive book? Wow, that's a long time for some wishing and hoping. Hey, what's up, bookworms and knights, radiant void bringers, whatever you align with, you are welcome here, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the 5th Stormlight Archive book. Finally, Wind and Truth is coming out tomorrow. And I thought, it might be about time for me to get out my wishing and hoping and all those things I've been thinking about for the last 4 years. Honestly, before I looked it up, I thought it was 3 years. It really has been 4 years since the last time we've had a new Stormlight book. Now, before I get into this, guys, I want to say I am not a ℙ𝕦𝕣𝕉 expert. There are lots of channels on YouTube that can say that they are. I am not. It's been almost a decade since I read the first 2 books in the series, so there's things that might be a little rusty. I didn't have time for a 4,500-page reread before this book does come out. So if some of these have been answered or if I'm remembering things wrong, please don't kill me. It's what I'm thinking of right now. So this will remain a spoiler video for the first 4 books. However, I have not read any of the preview chapters for Wind and Truth. So if you've not read those, you're fine. If you have read those, please shh, because I'm not going to start reading it until tomorrow. So I'm going to kind of go into some things. It isn't really what I call like a theory video. It's more as like maybe some thoughts. I don't think I'm a good enough resource to say I've got these hard theories, because there's some people who've got like theses on these things. I'm not that. It's just some things that I've always thought about since Rhythm of War did end, about things that I think will happen in the last book, things I hope to see in the last book, things that I maybe hope not to see, but think we'll get in the last book. I'm just going to kind of go over those and some of my quick little thoughts there. Now, this isn't everything, but these are the big ones I could think of when I kind of jotted this list down. I think the biggest question headed into Wind and Truth is, who will Dalinor's champion be? I mean, that's kind of where the last book ended. We got 10 days before we're going to have this big fight, champion v champion. And I think many speculate it's going to be Dalinar himself. I just don't think it's going to be. I don't know. There's just something about it where I'm like, it just doesn't make sense for me, really. That just seems too easy. I think that he'll try to be. Navani will probably talk him out of it. Adolin will probably talk him out of it. They'll tell him, hey, you're not quite exactly the Blackthorn anymore. I don't know. It's just something about it just makes me think it's not going to be him. That's just too easy. A lot think it's going to be Kaladin. But, I know Dalinar, he has said in the past, basically, he's not ruthless enough. It's like when Batman's talking about in Batman v Superman, where he's like, the problem with Clark is in the end, he's a good guy. I'm not. And I think that that's kind of the way he looks at Kaladin. He's an incredibly skilled warrior. His power set is amazing, but when it comes to brass tacks, he might not be ruthless enough for a fight like this that can determine the fate of the whole Cosmere. It's kind of a big deal. So I think he wants someone he knows has no problem snuffing something out underneath their boot. So I don't think it will be Kaladin. Look, my theory has long been, we know that this book is going to be the Szeth flashback book. I think the champion's going to be Szeth. And I know that a lot kind of pushed back against that. For me, I'd like to see it. I would like to see this, because I know he broke his promise to Dalinar. And when he basically said, I don't want ℓ𝕤𝕤𝕣𝕉 executed, and then the first thing that Szeth does after he swore allegiance to Dalinar is go and try to assassinate ℓ𝕤𝕤𝕣𝕉. There was a lot there. He's easily manipulated and things like that. And he's been pushed around, like he's been ordered with this oath stone for years, and he just, now that he's got some free movement, I think he's going to look at this and say, hey, I want to set this right. I caused this. And I think at this point, he's at the power level high enough, and he's definitely brutal enough to do what needs to be done. So I think with this being his flashback book, it kind of wraps around into making sense. And if you think this is his redemption arc for me, and this is his flashback book, it makes sense that the first book starts with Szeth son Vallano, truthless of Shinovar, wore white the day he was to kill a king. Then you end it with Szeth son Vallano, truthless of Shinovar, wore white the day he was to kill a god. I think that would be the perfect way to end this 5-book arc. Maybe with that snarky little line from Nightblood or something in there, which I would want nothing else. But that makes the most sense for me. I think it will be Szeth, and I hope it's Szeth. I think that would be just an incredible arc for this character, and to kind of clean up his mess that he did with ℓ𝕤𝕤𝕣𝕉 and Odium at the end of Rhythm and War. I think the biggest question outside of that is, hey, a lot of people are looking at this kind of like the end. It is the end of this 5-book arc, and so that means it's going to be kind of a transition point. It's supposed to be 10 years in Cosmere time between books 5 and 6, so there is going to be a little bit of a transition. So who makes it, and who is DED dead? Who is not going to be with us when those books do resume in the future? Well, Sandro has confirmed that the back half books will focus on Lift, Renarin, Shalash, Talonel, and Yasna. So we know they're safe. We know that they're safe. And if you don't know that, I'm sorry. That was in an Esquire magazine interview. I think it feels like any Sanderson fans probably read that. I know he's talked about it in the past. He's mentioned who his flashback characters are going to be for the next 5 books. So I don't think that's really necessarily a spoiler. But just in case, hey, sorry. Anyhow, so I think Dalinar is most likely to go, right? I mean, it just kind of feels like it's been setting that up since the first book. That, I mean, I think every book that's come out, I mean, since Oathbringer, people thought that was going to be Dalinar's death book, you know? I feel like that's the way it's kind of being the fandom. But with this, it makes the most sense. If you're passing the torch to the next generation, you know, the math, you know, with his age and everything he's gone through, it says he gone. But I just hope he goes out in a blaze of glory. You know, redemption solidified. I've seen lots of theories about how he becomes fused and he becomes like evil, you know, and he's just gonna basically be the villain for the back half books. I would hate that. I would hate that so much because Dalinar is my favorite character within the ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤, one of my favorite characters in all of fantasy. And if he's gonna go out, I want to see him go out, you know, with that redemption arc completely fulfilled, you know, to be a better man and to fix things that he might have done in his past. And this feels like the perfect way for him to go out and plays the glory. If he's got to go, I don't want him to go, obviously, but if he's got to go, I would like it to see it be, I don't say it's sort of the happy ending because, you know, when your characters are dying, it's probably not going to be happy, but yeah, I'd like it to go out on his terms. That's what I would like to see, and I think that would be really good. I think Adel and Shallan are kind of go off and have babies somewhere, and then maybe years down the line, those back half books, you know, I was thinking maybe some of these characters that are, you know, the mainstay characters right now, those characters might show up in the interludes in some of those next books, and then like maybe books 9 and 10, they like show up again for like some big battle or something like that. That's what I think. Or maybe they're kids. You know, I don't know. Who knows how much time is going to go by between these? It'd be a shame if Dalinar's not there to see his grandbabies, but this one makes sense. I don't see Adolin or Shallan going. Cal and I go back and forth on. You know, with his chronic depression, I'm not sure that there is a happy ending for this character, really. And I think in true cruel fashion would just be just keep him alive so he can be miserable, right? But I could see him going out a hero. You know, I could see that. It's just, I mean, Moash has to die like a dog this book, right? And it makes so much sense for me for Kaladin and Moash to kind of die in each other's spears. Yeah, that's just kind of the way it seems, just kind of just poetic at this point. Those two kind of going out, you know, killing each other on the way out. But I can see basically some of the older characters dying, most of the younger ones staying, because like I said, we are doing a kind of the passing of the torch story. It makes sense that you've got this great cast of young characters, not to kill them off needlessly when there's plenty of more story to be stretched out of some of them, except Navani. I feel like Navani, of the older characters, she'll live. She's too much of a badass to let anything kill her. In my head, Navani is played by the actress who plays Avasarala on The Expanse, and you know that I don't think there's any weapon forged by man that can kill her. So that's just maybe I've kind of built that up a little bit in my head, right, making those comparison between those two characters. Speaking of Moash, might want to put the earmuffs if you got kids listening here. Who stands up this book and says, fuck Moash? Because it's got to happen. It's got to happen, right? I mean, I thought I hated Sadeas. This guy, man, he just, and I, you know, I see those people out there like, well, Moash did nothing wrong. Stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. I know I do that with Greenbone Saga with Hilo, but it's different. It's very, very different. Moash has no redeeming qualities. He needs to go. He needs to die like a dog. It needs to be slow. It needs to be explicit. It needs to be drawn out over 5 or 6 chapters, Sando. That's what I need to see. I need to see him taken apart to the pain, as Wesley would say in The Princess Bride. I think it makes a lot of sense, like I said, for them both to kind of have mortal wounds from each other, him and Kaladin. But to me, it's just, there's no way these two don't end up fighting a final duel in this book. And I just, if Sando finds a way to make Moash kill Kaladin and Moash lives, oh man, there might be some table flipping going on around the ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤. After Elhokar and Teft, I think he's reached a point, or even with Kaladin, where Kaladin realizes you can't save everyone. You know, there's some people you just can't change them. That's just the way that they are, and there's no really going back. I don't think that there's any redemption for him in Kaladin's eyes, regardless of what ideals he has spoken. But it wouldn't shock me to see Sando do something crazy like he's about to kill Kaladin and then like Lopen comes up and stabs him in the back or something. Because if you guys read Memory of Light, the last book in Wheel of Time that Sanderson wrote during the last battle, the way that he handles some deaths in there, it's not this big grand fashion. It's just like, okay, bye. It's completely shocking in the way that he does it. He's got that killer in him. You know, I think that a lot of people will say, oh, Sanderson's kind of, you know, PG-13. He won't get super brutal. He's got that killer in there, and he might let it out sometime. And he might leave it in a way where it's just something unexpected like that. And you have a character that's kind of almost a plucky comic relief, I think, like Lopen can be sometimes. But yeah, I could see him come be like, I got you, Gancho. That could be something funny. But I think some of those deaths, like I said, in Wheel of Time make me think Sanderson's got that killer in him, and there might be something unexpected happening here. Speaking of Cal, I think we've got to see him speak that fifth ideal, right? I mean, that feels like the last thing for him, this character, to do here. I don't really necessarily know. Everybody's like, oh, it has to happen. I don't know if it has to happen, because I feel like with the fourth ideal, I mean, you're basically pretty much invincible as is right now. But I don't know. I see no way that doesn't happen in this book. There's no way this goes into the back half of the series where Kaladin's no longer apparently a main character anymore, and he doesn't have spoke that fifth ideal. There's just no way I see that, even if he is to die in this book. I don't know. As far as I want the fifth ideal to be, I have no idea. I have no idea. Maybe I accept that at some point you got to kill a mofo. I don't know. That doesn't seem very much like a Windrunner. I don't know. That doesn't seem like something that they would do. But to me, I feel like Kaladin's so OP at this point, I really don't know what a fifth ideal would do, except maybe make him like ascend to godhood or reach the 10th heightening or something like that. Have no idea what more there's left for this character to do, because like I said, he's pretty much like a Dragon Ball character at this point, where he's just like, I don't know there's anything that can kill this guy. That's just how I feel about it. I've felt like since Oathbringer, this character's been so overpowered that really, where can they go from here? So next, I feel like maybe he'll have like an Infinity Gauntlet or something. I have no idea what a fifth ideal would make him ascend to. But here, the thing is, the fourth ideal, that was maybe my favorite moment in all of Rhythm of War. And I feel like he's got to top it. He's got to top this, or just not do it. I'd rather him not do it than it be disappointing. But I feel like Sanderson, he really, really makes those moments matter. So I trust him to do it. But I don't know. I would rather him just not do it than it be like kind of a letdown. But I don't think he will. But I will think he will say the fourth ideal in this, or the fifth ideal in this book. No more blocked memories from Shallan. I want this resolved. Look, here's the thing. I can't believe this far in the series, there's still so many unanswered questions about Shallan. I mean, I think we've gotten a flashback book where we've gotten so much about her family. There's still so many things we don't know. Who precisely was her mother? You know, why was her mother actually willing to kill her because she found out that she could be a surge miner? I feel like there's got to be more to it than, hey, I'm a member of the Ghost Bloods, I'm going to kill my own child. Well, look, it's a very different world than you or I live in, but thinking about it as a parent, I'm like, I don't know. I think there's some things where I'll be like, F that group I'm in. Blood is thicker than water. So there's lots of theories out there. The best one I've heard that she's a herald, maybe Shanrock. That one makes a lot of sense. And I think Sanderson has confirmed that you have seen that herald somewhere in the series before. A character has seen that herald somewhere in the series. And so if that was her mother, you know, and I guess Shallan would have seen her, right? I don't know. That's a really interesting one. But I just feel like at this point, there should be no more unanswered questions about Shallan. Now, I know that she has all these different personalities and she buries stuff deep down, but I feel like us being inside the characters' heads, we should know no more mysteries about Shallan. We should know all those memories unlocked, and it should happen by the end of this book, I think. Really, I just want to see Shallan overcome the multiple personality thing. Now, look, I understand what dissociative identity disorder is, and I know that isn't something you can shake off. That'd be like me telling Kaladin to just walk off his depression. It doesn't work like that. You can't just shake it off. But really, I guess my wish would be no new personalities going forward. Sanderson gave us like a fourth one in the last book. No. Three's more than enough. Please, no more new personalities. Vale and, God, what's the other one called? Jeez, it's been too long. Vale is like the dark-haired one. What's the light-eyed one? Oh my God, the light-haired. I can't remember. Anyway, so she has those two other personalities. I guess we got rid of Formless in the last book. She kind of fought that one off. But yeah, with me, I think I would just no more of that, because it's like there's like 700 named characters in the series. I don't need a fourth personality from Shallan. Maybe a fifth. You know, why not? But no new personalities, and I want those final questions, blocked memories, unblocked. I guess it would be weird for me not to talk about who is Odium's champion going to be. I guess I haven't speculated on this one enough, because for first, I think I just assumed it was going to be Moash. He's the popular pick, but to me, it feels too easy. It feels way too easy. It feels like it would just be fan service. I don't think that Sanderson's that type of writer. He doesn't refrain from giving the fans what they want, but he also knows that his fans speculate a lot. He doesn't want to just read the Reddit message boards and say, "Oh, I'm going to do everything. They're writing these books for me." You know, I feel like he's not that type of author. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be Moash, especially with the theory that Dalinar is going to pick Kaladin, and then you're going to have the Moash and Kaladin fight that way. That just feels way too contrived. That fight feels too personal to be something like a champion v champion fight. That needs to be something that's off in a duel in a field somewhere outside the Shattered Plains where they're fighting each other one-on-one with no one else around. So it can be very, very nasty and personal, and they can talk some serious shit to one another while it goes down. That doesn't seem like, oh, okay, this is a blood feud, but we're gonna hinge the whole ℙ𝕦𝕣𝕜𝕤 on this little spat you two have. No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think the one that makes a lot of sense would be ℕ𝕤𝕤, because, you know, ℕ𝕤𝕤's been doing this for a long time. He knows what bondsmiths can do. He can probably counter everything that Dalinar is kind of hatching up here. That one does check out. I think that's actually highly likely. And it seems like it would be someone that would be on a power level that would be hard for you to compete with, really. But ℕ𝕤𝕤 versus Szeth, in my book, that would be a heck of a fight. I'd love to see that. But I don't know. I think maybe since Brandon is trying to build the ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤, this bigger thing, this big shared universe as he has, and he's starting to introduce characters from other books into other books, other series into other books, you know what I mean? I think it could be someone who is not necessarily of Roshar. It could be someone actually off-world, a world hopper, if you were. Because I don't think he's brought in Vasher. He hasn't brought in Vivenna. He hasn't brought in Kelsier just for the LOLs. This isn't just Easter eggs here. This has to be him showing, okay, some of these characters can world hop, and they can play significant roles, not just, you know, hey, cameos and things like that. But I also know that he said that these can't feel standalone in nature, and I don't think he wants to confuse the readers too much. So that one, I wouldn't say is as likely as ℕ𝕤𝕤. So I'm still sticking with ℕ𝕤𝕤. I think it's going to be ℕ𝕤𝕤 versus Szeth. But who knows? Who knows? I hope it's something that I know, because I only read, I tapped out on Mistborn Era 2. Don't throw things at me. And I've only read Trust the Emerald Sea. I didn't read the other two ℙ𝕤𝕤 Secret Project books. So I hope it's not anything from Sunlit Man or Yumi. But that's kind of where I would place my bets on it being ℕ𝕤𝕤 versus Szeth. Now I guess my final wish would just be, I want this to feel like an ending that you could walk away with if you prefer. If you prefer to say this is the end of Stormlight Archive for me, be it because I don't want to wait for the next book to come out, or I don't like the direction that's headed. If you're saying this is 2 arcs of 5 books, I want it to feel like it has enough finality that if you want to walk away, you can. Because Brandon has said that the next book in this series doesn't come out in the 2030s. And look, I'll be truthful. I said I'm likely to walk away from the series after this, because I don't dislike this series. Clearly, I love it. I do love the series. I'm crazy about it. And it's journey before destination every time for me. But it's just, I'm not cool with that kind of wait between books. I wouldn't say I'm old, but I'm not young. It's not that I'm worried about dying necessarily before it's done. It's just, it's like, that's a long time. That's a long time, and this guy's got so many irons in the fire. Those stretches are only going to add up, because it was only supposed to be 3 years between Stormlight books. Now we moved to 4. And now he's saying he's going to take like a 6-7 year break between this one and book 6. Then what? Then it's going to be 4 or 5 years between each book. Yeah, I don't want to wait till the 2060s to complete the series. Also, the 5 characters that he's mentioned going forward, I love Jasnah. I like Renarin. I can't stand Lift. It doesn't sound like it's heading in a direction that I want it to head in. Now, I never say never, and he's still the Lord Ruler in the end. And a Brandon Sanderson release is always important in the fantasy community. But for me, if it's just one of those things where I say, I feel like I want to walk away after this book, I want this book to not end in a cliffhanger. I want to feel like, okay, those characters that I love, they all had a final closing arc, and I feel like I can walk away from the story without having a ton of unanswered questions like I have with these. So my biggest wish is just that this book does have some finality for those wishing to walk that path. Now, look, I'm very excited for this book. I took a lot of heat for when I said that I was lukewarm on Rhythm of War. But like many more have come around on my side in the 4 years since. But just because that's because really I wasn't interested in Vinley or ℙ𝕤𝕤𝕤. I don't need to know how the sausage is made. Explain the science of Stormlight to me. I don't need the magic. I'm a soft magic. Just wizards can use magic. That's all I need. I don't need an explanation for how the science works. I know a lot of people love that, and I love that they love that. There's lots of things about this series for different people, I feel like. But for me, it's like focus on the characters, not the magic. And if you don't even want to do the Parshinni in this book, that's fine with me. Look, it's a 1,400 page book, so there's probably going to be that world building stuff in here, and I think Sanderson's great at it. It's just I had enough the last 2, but I liked it better when the Parshinni had like I don't think interludes, but they usually had like a chapter or a paragraph or something to tell me what's going on in the first couple of books. That's all I needed of that. I didn't need that whole flashback set in book 4. But I expect this one to be good because there is this thing called the Sanderlanche, and Brandon Sanderson is known for rewarding his readers that stick with his story, and I think that this is going to just be massive. I still think the third act of Oathbringer is probably like the biggest, the time that this series has popped off the most. That felt like that Avengers Endgame moment. It really did. Can he top that? I'm sure he could. Will he? I don't know. I don't know if this is necessarily what he wants to do with this arc. We'll see. Because I feel like he's got to say something for that book 10, right? But I don't think that he's just going to kind of mail it in and say, thanks for hanging with me. If this is going to feel like an ending, and he wouldn't be talking about how this is an ending of this arc, I don't think he's going to do it with a whimper. He's going to do it with a bang. And I'm excited to find out. So my hard copy doesn't get here till Monday, but I do have the digital copy showing up at midnight. So I'm very, very excited to dig into that. But I know you guys are too. I know some people, I think the preview chapters are up to like chapter 23 or 24 or something like that. So you guys have gotten a nice head start on me. But that's okay. I'm excited to start on day one. Last time with Rhythm of War, I read those preview chapters and I felt like it just kind of kept, I don't know, it kind of took me out of it having to stop so much. So I just said this time, I'm just going to wait until release day and just start straight shot and do the whole thing. It'll probably take the whole month of December, but it's a journey that I am excited to take. Journey before destination, right, guys? So Wind and Truth, what are some of your theories? I know you guys have had plenty of time to talk about it. Do you have answers for any of these? Am I completely off base with some of these things? Probably, most likely. I'm not as good of a writer as Brandon Sanderson is. Not very many people are. So that's what this is in the end. It's just a lot of fun to talk about, to think about, to speculate upon. And I would love to hear your speculation down below. So hit me in the comments, let me know what you guys are thinking. Are you going to be starting the book on Friday? I'm excited to hear what you think down below. So hit me there and I will talk to you then.